All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Understanding Behavior live stream. I'm so glad you all can make it here tonight. How we feeling? I got a guest next to me. Let's see if she wants to come on here. Oh, no, she might not want to. Come here, Lex. Come. Hey, good girl. Do you want to come on stream? She's a little camera shy right now. My puppers. No, she didn't want to come. Sorry, guys. Well, anyway, welcome, and thank you guys so much for being here. Tonight we are talking about verbal behavior. Lots of things to go for this topic, and yeah, I think you guys are gonna enjoy it. Anyway, we recently released our Behavior Beastslayer course, which has been pretty big hit for everybody. We had an early access offer, and we decided to continue that early access offer into the weekend. We were gonna end it today, but it's just been such a good deal, and I want as many people as possible to take advantage of it. So we are extending this offer through the weekend. Our Behavior Beastslayer course comes with pretty much everything you need to master the BCBA exam. It is until the end of this week. We have $75 off the full price. Also, you can add a mock exam, or you can add our fluency package into your cart and get that absolutely for free. And in addition, you get 8 months access instead of 6 months access. So if you buy it today, you'll get access all the way until 2026, which is pretty cool, We have so much content in the Beast Slayer course. If you want to take a peek, here's everything that we have. It just never ends. It's so much content. So I think it's gonna be we still have section I to release. We're gonna release this at the end of this weekend. It's about 16 hours of video total, and they're broken up into like these 5 to 20-minute sections. And then there's also a bunch of activities for you to complete along the way. There's about 65 activities and quizzes to test your knowledge and master all of these different concepts. The videos also have built-in questions, so it will pause during the videos whenever we ask a question, and you have an option to click an answer, and then it'll give you some feedback if you got it right or incorrect, right or wrong. And then I'll discuss all of the answer options afterwards too. So really amazing and interactive tool to learn. We're super excited about it. Everybody who has been getting it has been really enjoying it so far. So has anybody here bought the Beast Slayer and been using it? Nice. Alicia just bought it. Hell yeah. Thanks so much for supporting us. Can it be until Monday? You test on Monday? Well, if you test on Monday, let me. If you don't pass, let me send me an email. We'll see what's up. Hell yeah, lots of people in chat have already picked it up. Amazing. Thanks so much for supporting, and hopefully you guys have been really enjoying it. We've got Alberto here, was the first one to take the plunge. He's been really enjoying the content as well. Yay, so glad. So we're actually going to be giving away a copy of the Beast Slayer course tonight. So if you're here, you have a chance to win it absolutely for free. But if you've been to our live streams before, you might know that to trigger our giveaways, we really need to see some likes on this video. So hit that thumbs up. We've got 75 people here, but only 20 likes on the video. I think we can do a little bit better than that, but I don't know. It's all in your hands. So I'll leave that up to y'all. Sweet. Yeah, Aaron says the ultimate bundle has also been super helpful and engaging. Yeah, our mock exams rule. I think they're the best mocks out there. I mean, I'm a little biased, but I think they're some of the best mocks out there. I don't know. Anyway, tonight we are talking about verbal behavior. Really cool topic. This is one of Skinner's passion projects, and yeah, it's done a lot for the world, and we're gonna chat about everything we need to know about verbal behavior. So we're just catching up on chat here. Yeah, Cap saying, love the mocks and the fluency questions. Beat the Beast 2, kicked her ass. For sure. Our mocks don't mess around, but they are pretty awesome. Yeah, Ebel's asking, they bought the Beast Slayer and want to know like the best order to do things in. I would just start. So here, let me pull this back up. But I would start with doing the fundamentals. So that's why we put like these very fundamental things as the very first thing instead of doing section A. And then I don't think it really matters too much from there. Like if you want to just kind of bounce around and do what is helpful for you, then that's cool. But I would just really recommend starting with this this basic concepts and principles section. Get these down before you go too far elsewhere. But other than that, you can kind of just hop around wherever you need to, or whatever you want to cover, or whatever's feeling good that night. There's not like a strict way you need to go about it, but yeah, whatever way is good. Whatever you're feeling. Pretty flexible course. Cool. Yeah, just catching up in chat. Katarina's graduating next week. Awesome. Congratulations. It's exciting. Tanisha's taking Beat the Beast 2 now. Yes, Jessica. Love it. So glad you're digging the Beast Slayer. Should we take Beat the Beast 1 before as a baseline or halfway through? I think either way. Yeah, either way. Masha won the Beast Slayer last week. Yes. Say absolutely incredible. Right now just doing the mocks and then writing down what I need to go back for the explanations. Yay. So glad you won that, Masha, and so glad you're enjoying it. Woot, 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 woot. Emily, I missed your question. If you could put it again. Oh yeah, Emily, I think I did send you an email for that. We're missing a couple videos in G, but we'll get there. Those videos are coming, I promise. We'll have them out next week. Okay. Tonight we are talking verbal behavior, so we're going to hop right into our topic. Here's our agenda. First, we're going to talk about what is verbal behavior. We'll do a little discussion on what difference between form and function, difference between verbal and vocal behavior. Then we'll talk about the difference between audience and speaker roles. Then we'll break down each of our verbal operants, talk about formal similarity and point-to-point correspondence. We'll talk about tricky types of questions, and then we'll do a quiz on identifying verbal operants at the end. You guys ready to crush? We ready to go? We pumped? We excited? All right, let's do it. Let's start off with a definition of verbal behavior. So, verbal behavior was a text that Skinner wrote in 1957. This was actually Skinner's first text that was non-experimental. So, Skinner was huge about the laboratory and testing out his behavioral principles. But he's like, man, verbal behavior is just so complex that, like, we can't really, like, do all these tests. And, like, it's hard to do them in very basic settings with rats and pigeons. So he was more looking at this was more of a conceptual work from him, which was a big difference from the rest of his text. So, but what Skinner argued is that verbal behavior isn't that much different than any other kind of behavior. So his definition here is that it's behavior that's reinforced through the mediation of other persons. So basically, there's behavior that is socially reinforced. But these persons must be responding in ways which have been conditioned precisely in order to reinforce the behavior of the speaker. So our audience is particularly reinforcing these responses in specific ways. If you want to just kind of keep it simple, I think this first part of the definition captures most of what you need. So it's behavior that's reinforced through the mediation of other persons. Let's talk about the difference between form and function of language. So when we're talking about form, we're looking at what the behavior looks like. So this includes like the content of the speech or whatever communication it is, as well as like what modality it's occurring in. So different types of verbal utterances. We can have speech, we can have signs, we can have text, we can have icons. These are all forms of communication. And this also includes like our words, phonemes, and grammar. When we're looking at function of the behavior, we're looking at the history of context and consequences of our verbal responses. So our context referring to our antecedents and the consequences referring to what results from the verbal behavior. So function is really important, and we as behavior analysts usually want to look at function of behavior because this is the best explanation for why behavior occurs. So when verbal behavior dropped, this was a big shift in how we look at language. So instead of just looking at the form, looking at like what the language contains, we're also going to look at the function. So what are the consequences that maintain it, and under which context does it occur? Another really big impact of verbal behavior is that it shows that language is not necessarily innate, but it is learned. So it can be learned through environmental contingencies, and we can see that where it's like, hey, if you grow up in a different place, you might have a totally different set of language. Verbal behavior in 1957 came out, and when it came out, it actually really wasn't that popular of a text, and it's all due to this man, Noam Chomsky. He was Skinner's biggest critic of verbal behavior. Noam Chomsky is actually still alive today, and he's a pretty well-known like philosopher, kind of public figure. And in my opinion, Chomsky kind of just missed the point of verbal behavior. And what Chomsky argued is that, humans are just kind of special. And the reason that we have verbal behavior in complex language is because humans have what's called a language acquisition apparatus inside of us that makes us really special. And, this explanation is just like really dumb because there's no such thing as a language acquisition apparatus, and it like doesn't look at anything observable. It's just like some made up thing that we can that he's using to explain behavior. So it's like, okay, kind of dumb. But the Noam Chomsky, again, he's a pretty well-respected figure, and kind of completely shut Skinner down and shut down verbal behavior, and I think like really held back society from looking at more functional approaches to language. So yeah, really not great. Yeah, this is like some pseudoscience and definitely like a mentalistic explanation. I think somebody was asking about mentalistic terms earlier. So like a language acquisition apparatus, this would be considered a hypothetical construct. When we're explaining that we have complex language because we have a language acquisition apparatus, that would be an explanatory fiction. And that runs into our circular reasoning. It's like, okay, why do we have complex language? It's because we have a language acquisition apparatus. But how do we know that we have a language acquisition apparatus? It's because we have complex language. So that's the circular reasoning, is that we can just keep asking those two questions back and forth, and we don't really get to any explanation of anything. Yeah, Chomsky is very ancient. I think he's like almost in his 90s now. But anyway, Chomsky was recently found donating money to Jeffrey Epstein. So if that says anything about his character, yeah, not so great. Anyway, let's talk about the difference between vocal and verbal behavior. So vocal behavior is any behavior that's produced by the vocal cords. I think that's really the easiest connection that you can make, is like vocal cords. And when we're looking at verbal behavior, we're looking at any type of communication. So any communication that's mediated by another individual. So verbal behavior is a much broader category. When we're only looking at vocal behavior, we're looking at behavior produced by the vocal cords. So I think that's the easiest way to nail that down, is focus on vocal behavior. Yeah, Chomsky's 96. Yeah, I told you, he is old, man. I mean, he lived past Skinner, so absolutely. All right, let's next talk about audience versus speaker roles, because these are very important as well. When we're looking at verbal behavior contingency, the contingency is always going to be framed around the speaker. So we're looking at the speaker's behavior. And when we're looking at the verbal behavior of others, this is going to serve as a stimulus to the speaker. So, like my verbal behavior is going to be a stimulus for your behavior, and your verbal behavior is going to be a stimulus for my behavior. So it all depends about that perspective. And if you've learned about like basic contingencies and looking at like that perspective of the contingency, then this is already be a pretty familiar concept for you. When we're looking at audience, This can be your current audience, or it could just refer to like your broader verbal community. So like for example, like I grew up and was like born and raised in Michigan. So like before I really like moved out of Michigan, like people in Michigan were kind of like my target audience. And you know, we every state I feel like has like it's a little bit of quirks in their language a little bit. Like apparently we say our A's really weird. We like it's always like that sound instead of the sound for the A, like a bagel. Well, I don't know. Anyway, so our audience kind of like my audience could refer to like that broader verbal community of like of Michiganders, but my current audience also affects my verbal behavior. So, like for example, I'm talking to students that want to learn about behavior analysis right now. So that's like my kind of concept of an audience, and I'm going to tailor my language towards that kind of audience. Yeah, Emily, I'm in Denver right now. That's sweet. Yeah, I live in Rhino, so if you're ever in Rhino, you might see me walking around with my dog. um, so we can think about that as like our stimulus control of our verbal behavior. It's like with different audiences, it's going to evoke like a different set of verbal responses. So like again, like my audience right now being students that are learning behavior analysis is going to be a specific audience that kind of controls different speech for me. Oh, nice. Justice is in the Springs too. Awesome. Yeah, Molly lives in the Springs. She's one of our other instructors. Very cool. Colorado's the best. I love this state. We can also think about covert verbal behavior, which is kind of like a fancy term for thinking. And with when you're thinking, it's kind of different because you're serving as both the audience and the speaker. So you're the one like speaking, but you're also like kind of like receiving what you're speaking as well. So we can think about like thinking is just like it's no different from any other verbal behavior except that you're serving as the audience and the speaker. But yeah, like it's just kind of like the same kind of stuff here. Now I don't offer any in-person tutoring. I'm like way too busy to do one-on-one tutoring these days. I have so much to do. It's crazy. Well, anyway, let's look at our verbal operants. Usually this term operant can be kind of confusing for students. I remember like this term just confused me for years, like even while I was in my master's program. But an operant is essentially just an ABC contingency. So we're looking at the antecedent, behavior, and consequence. So essentially a verbal operant is a behavioral contingency that's reinforced by other individuals. And there's a really common consequence for our verbal operants. Before I reveal it, does anybody know, like, what is the consequence for most of our verbal operants? Anybody in chat know that? Okay, GCR. I like to add one more letter into that one. Does anybody know that? And can anybody spell it out? Like, what is that? What is that GCR or GC blank R? Nice. A-Hotax on it. Yeah, Emily's right on track. Amy too. Good. Good. Yeah, looking great, crew. So yeah, I usually like to add the S in here as well. So it stands for generalized conditioned social reinforcement. So I like this GCSR. So again, generalized means that it's paired. Generalized and conditioned mean that conditioned is it's learned, and generalized condition means that it's learned through pairings with many different stimuli. Social means it's paired with social stimuli, and then obviously it's serving as a reinforcer. Cool. Yeah, looking good. So we can think about GCSR as either like praise, approval, or just coherence. So it doesn't necessarily like need to be praise or approval. So like for example, if I showed you this object, I'm like, hey, check out my new bike. And you're like, Nick, this is not a bike. So that's really like not getting any approval or coherence. It's like, wait, no, that's just That's not a bike. That's a marker. If I'm like, hey, check out my marker, you might be like, yeah, cool, Nick. That's a marker. So like, it's not even necessarily like getting praise, but it's like, okay, approval, or at least you understand what I'm saying. Like, hey, this is a marker. Or if I called it a Sharpie, that might get reinforced as well. Or if I said like, check out my new Crayola, and I showed you my Sharpie, it'd be like, Nick, that's not a Crayola. So again, it's kind of just like that approval or coherence. It's not necessarily always praise. It can just kind of be like this general understanding of like, yeah, I kind of get what you're communicating is. So that's what we're referring to with this GCSR. This is the consequence for all of our verbal operants. The only exception is going to be the mand. So the mand is reinforced through a different reinforcer. Cool. When we're looking at our verbal operants, since most of them have the same consequence, which is this GCSR, that kind of like that praise, approval, or coherence, this is going to be the same for most of our verbal operants. So the main thing we really want to focus on is the relationship between the antecedent and the form of the behavior. So what does the behavior look like? Which is kind of different than a lot of our analyses, because usually we're looking at like, hey, what's the function? What is the consequence of the behavior? But for verbal operants, since that's the same for most of them, we really want to focus on that relationship between, again, the antecedent and the form of the behavior. Cool. Looking groovy so far. So we're going to go through each of our verbal operants, and we're going to have you label our antecedents, behaviors, and consequences. You guys should be familiar with most of these, so we're kind of just going to go right for it. We're going to start with our man. So I want you to label, what are the ABCs of a man? Let's start there. What do you guys got? Let's see it in chat. ABCs of a man. Here's Lex. So let's see if I can get her to come over. Lexi, come here. Come. Good girl. Yeah, good girl. Hey, sweetie. Don't come on camera. Yeah. Oh yeah, she's a big girl. she's coming on camera. Everybody's talking about mans. What we got here, Lex? So yeah, well, let's look for all three components right now. Let's see if you can nail it. Cool, Allie's got a good example. Yeah, Ahotech is on it. Cool. Samantha looks good. Yeah, here's the big Lex. She's a cute, big cutie. Sorry, she doesn't really love this, but I like when she comes on. I know you guys like her too. Thanks, Lex. You're such a good girl. Yeah, you're a good girl. Yeah, to my baby. I know, Lexi's the best. She's the best. She really is the sweetest little girl ever. All right, answer's looking good so far. I like where we're going. Yeah, and Harrison right on track. Cool, Aaron's got a good example. Looking good here, crew. Okay, let's go ahead and check out our framework here. So our man is the antecedent is going to be an establishing operation. So this can be an establishing operation either for a reinforcer or for an aversive stimulus. So it can be something that's making something more reinforcing or something that's making something more aversive as well. B is going to be the request for a specific reinforcer, and the consequence is going to be that specific reinforcer. So note that mans can occur for negative reinforcement as well if like something is really aversive, and like the reinforcer in that case would be like the removal of that aversive stimulus. Julie's asking, is an MO the same as an EO? Pretty much, but EO is only talking about things that increase in value, where MO is more broad. It can talk about things that decrease in value as well. So EO, we're talking about only things that increase in value. So we have more desirable reinforcers or more aversive stimuli. Good question. Danielle's asking a good question. So can a man still be there without the specific item? So yeah, even if it doesn't necessarily result in the specific reinforcer, we want to more like at the behavioral history behind it. We'll talk more about that when we get into like the tricky stuff about the our verbal operants later. But yeah, if it has a history of resulting in that specific reinforcer, but it's not currently resulting in that specific reinforcer, it would still be considered a man. That's a really good question, Danielle. All right, let's look at our tact now. Let's do our framework for tact. What's our antecedent, behavior, and consequence? Let's see what you guys got. Aaron's asking, do you need to know CMOs for the test? I'd say they're a low priority item for studying. Like, they're really not making sense. I wouldn't bother with them too hard. We didn't make a CMO video for the Beastslayer course yet, but we'll probably add one in the near future. I don't think it's a very high priority topic. And just anecdotally, nobody's been complaining about CMOs recently on the exam, so I don't know if they're actually on the new exam or not. It's not clearly on the task list, but... Oh wait, Natalie here, she had 4 CMO questions on her last exam. What? 4 of them? On the real thing? Was that 6th edition? On 327, that's crazy. All right, okay, well, I have been told, and there is CMO questions on the exam. Okay, we'll definitely get a CMO video on the Beastslayer course then. Good to know, crew. Thanks for the info. Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, we'll cover it soon. I promise. I promise. All right, I'm liking the answers coming in for this one. Yeah, Lexus nailed that. Yeah, Hallie, I like where you're going. Amy looks good too. Yeah, Maddie, I like where you're going. Carol looks good. Yeah, Beastslayer, we're going to continue to update Beastslayer, like, until it's, like, perfect. We're going to keep updating it, and, yeah, the updates don't end after this week. Yeah, Emily, you can still have a mand if you're not presented the item. You want to just look at the past history. So if it has received that reinforcer in the past, it's still a mand. All right, let's go ahead and review our tact. Our antecedent is a nonverbal stimulus. The behavior is going to be a label of that stimulus. And then the consequence is our generalized conditioned social reinforcer. So nonverbal stimulus, this can be anything that we sense that is not a verbal stimulus. So it could be a smell, it could be a sight, it could be a feeling, it could be a sound, anything like that. We're labeling that stimulus and then generalized reinforced through generalized conditioned reinforcer. Looks good. All right, let's do our interverbal now. Let's get our ABCs down. Yeah, for man, if you put MO instead of EO, you're on the right track. Nothing wrong there. Yay, Jameson, I love that you're getting that new sense of confidence. Love it, love it, love it. Yeah, Nicole's asking a good question. What if you ask, what is that? And they label the item. Is that not a tact? That's what we would call an impure tact. So it kind of blends two operants where we have a tact and an interverbal. We don't talk about our complex verbal behavior in this presentation, but we do talk about complex verbal behavior in the Beastslayer course, and we do talk about examples like that blend our verbal operants. Absolutely. Yeah, pure and impure is like a pure verbal operant is strictly going to have these antecedents, where an impure verbal operant is going to have multiple antecedents. Verbal and vocal. Verbal is communication. Vocal, again, is vocal cords. Think about vocal cords. Yeah, so if you're saying, what is this, then you raise the item. Raising the item is the nonverbal stimulus. Then saying, what is this, is a verbal stimulus. So it blends our two different operants. Answer's looking really good for this one. For an intraverbal, we have a verbal stimulus. We have, as our antecedent, we have a related verbal response as the response. And then it's reinforced through generalized conditioned social reinforcer. So what I was talking about with like that impure tact or impure intraverbal is when we had like raise the item and we say, what is this? Then we have two different antecedents in that case. We have a nonverbal stimulus, which is the item. Then we have a verbal stimulus, which is the what is this? So this would actually be both a tact and an intraverbal when they respond to that. So this would, you could call it either an impure tact or an impure intraverbal, but it's actually both operants going on. And that's when verbal behavior gets really complex, for sure. Good stuff here, crew. Great questions. I can tell you're thinking deeply tonight, and I love to see that. Okay, next up we're going to talk about formal similarity and point-to-point correspondence. I'm about to blow a lot of your minds with formal similarity because a lot of students get this wrong. Formal similarity is when we're looking at, or actually both of these are we're looking at relations between antecedents and behaviors. And with formal similarity, we're looking at the response form is the same. So like the modality of the response is the same. So like vocal antecedent, vocal behavior. But this also means that our content is exactly the same as well. So it has to be the same exact content. So for example, if I say, how are you? And then you say, I'm good. Those do not have formal similarity because they are different responses. They have different content. But if I say, how are you? And then you say, how are you? Now they have formal similarity because they're the same modality and they have the same exact content as each other. So a lot of people get taught this incorrectly where they are taught like formal similarity as only look at that response modality, but it also refers to the content. It needs to be exactly the same for formal similarity. So just the response modality or response form being the same is not enough. It needs to be exactly the same content as well. I know. How many minds are we blowing here today? Let me say something in chat if I just blew your mind. We got 1, 2. Honestly, like, I didn't learn this until I was a test prep instructor and I was working with a really smart BCBA who is like way smarter than me. and he blew my mind with this. I'm like, okay, I'm never teaching this incorrectly again. We're gonna talk about our verbal operants with formal similarity in just a minute. There's a couple of them, not just echoics. But yeah, echoics for sure. All right, yeah, we've got like 15 to 20 minds blown here. Hell yeah, we'll spread the viral knowledge. Make sure everybody gets this right in the future. It's okay, learning is good. Learning is good. Yeah, Janie, those would be different, so they wouldn't have formal similarity. For sure. We'll get more into the operants in just a minute, I promise. So formal similarity applies to any of our duplics. We'll talk about our duplex next. Point-to-point correspondence, on the other hand, is again a relationship between our antecedent and our behavior. And we're looking at a meaningful and exact relation between our stimulus and behavior. But in point-to-point correspondence, they don't necessarily have to have the same response form or same response modality. So with point-to-point correspondence, for example, if we're looking at this word meaningful, so this is text that says meaningful. This would have point-to-point correspondence with the vocal behavior of me saying meaningful. So like the letters here have an exact relationship with my response. So I see the words that say meaningful and I say meaningful. There's an exact relationship between our stimulus and the behavior. Yeah, passive BCBA objectively has a lot of errors in it. It's not just me kind of like cracking up their stuff. Like, there's a lot of errors in that book. So be careful and make sure you're double checking if that's the only resource that you're using. And, you know, understanding behavior resources, we continuously refine until we get it right. We're not right on everything, but we are right on like 99.5% of things. And whenever we're alerted to something that's incorrect, we change it on the dot. All right, so point-to-point correspondence is going to refer to our duplex and our codex. So formal similarity is only for our duplex. Point-to-point correspondence applies to our duplex and our codex. So let's talk about our duplex first. Our duplex, an easy way to think about this is that we're duplicating our antecedent. And once again, these do have point-to-point correspondence and formal similarity. We'll start with our echoic. Let's go ahead and label our ABCs of echoic. And I want you to think really carefully. For echoic, are we working with vocal responses or verbal responses or both? Or what are we doing here? Be careful with your vocal and verbal on this one. Yeah, BDS is pretty solid too. BDS has mostly incorrect information. Mostly correct information, sorry. I've seen a couple errors on there. I also find that they're just like a little bit too technical and a little bit too textbook. We try to teach more fun, teach in more fun ways. But BDS I think is a pretty solid resource for sure. Yeah, Marv, it would kind of depend. So just gonna look at the other frames of the of each verbal operant, and that's gonna help lead you to your answer. All right, I want to see full ABCs for our echoic. All right, yeah, Alyssa's on it. I like that. Yeah, Alexis, that looks really great. Yeah, Michaela's saying BDS can be a bit dry, for sure. I've been through a lot of those modules, and like even I get frustrated with those. Yeah, that's why I created Beastslayer course, is like I wanted something to be fun, thorough, and accurate. And it can actually like more than just teach you the concepts that you need for behavior analysis, but like teach you a whole behavioral framework and a whole behavioral lens. Like I think like that's what Beastslayer really attempts to do, is it tries to teach you to see the whole world through a behavioral lens and not just understand the basic concepts. So I don't know if I've quite achieved that goal, but that's what I was going for. And if you're starting to think about ABC contingencies in like every moment of your life, then I guess that's a sign that it's working. But I need more evidence for that. Angela's looking really good so far. Boost is pretty solid overall. I don't know all of their materials. I find their mock exams are a little on the easy end. But I think their accuracy is pretty solid overall, though. I know a couple of the people who created Boost content, and they're very solid analysts. All right, let's go ahead and review our echoic. Our ABCs here, we have our vocal antecedent. Vocal antecedent instead of verbal. So again, this one needs to be by your vocal cords. Our behavior is going to be a copy of that vocal antecedent. And the consequence is our GCSR. So again, we're duplicating our antecedents, but we're working with a vocal antecedent for our echoic. We're copying that vocal antecedent, and then we have GCSR. All right, let's move on to our mimetic. Might be a little bit less familiar for you, but a mimetic is essentially copying like a motor verbal. So actually, I'm saying too much. Essentially, it's like copying like a sign that communicates something. So go ahead and give it your best bet for our ABCs. We'll spend a little bit less time on this one, and we'll review it in just like 45 seconds or so. What are my thoughts on Snaba? I think Snaba does a really good job at like keeping things fun, and I'll just leave it at that. We're fun too, though. Yeah, Natalie said it. I didn't say it. Their stuff's expensive too. I was on their website the other day, and like their big package is like $1,000. I'm like, oh my gosh, like students can't afford this. All right. Nice. Yeah, Aho Tech, those are great scores. Hell yeah. 76 is great. Okay. Let's go through this one. This one's a little bit trickier. So, a medic, our antecedent, is a motor verbal stimulus. So, it's not just a motor stimulus, it's got to be a motor stimulus that communicates something. So, if we look at like sign language, for example, that's a motor verbal stimulus. If I give you like a peace sign, that's a motor verbal stimulus. So, again, it's got to be a motor stimulus, but it also needs to communicate something. Our behavior is going to be a copy of that motor verbal stimulus. And then lastly, we've got GCSR as our consequence. Looking good, looking good. Let's get into copying text. Might be a little bit less familiar operant, but I think it kind of explains itself. What do you guys got? Let's label our ABCs for our copying text. ABCs copying text. Yeah, I don't know if they've updated their BAS stuff recently, but I remember earlier this year when I was doing tutoring, I was going through some of the 6th edition mocks on the BAS, and I feel like they got new writers, and I saw so many terrible questions that were just like wrong, and then the feedback didn't make any sense. I don't know if they've updated those at all, but I was like, I was upset that students were paying so much and getting like such poor quality of stuff. Maybe they've tuned up since then, but yeah, that was my experience from earlier this year. We want to make our materials affordable, and we want to make them good. We want to make sure you actually learn. We want to make sure you actually have valid indicators about how well you're going to pass. We did actually ruin our Beat the Beast streak. We had 100% pass rate for people who scored 80% or higher on our Beat the Beast mocks. We did have to provide our first refund a couple weeks ago, so now it's 99.9% pass rate for 80% or higher. But I think it's still like the most valid indicator of passing the exam that exists out there. There's only one person. It's still a very valid indicator. Julia, UB should become an accredited ABA university identified by the BCBA. Yeah, I wish. That'd be really cool. We actually we want to start partnering with some universities. Actually, have a call with a department chair at a university tomorrow to get our Beastslayer course into one of their courses. So I'm really excited about that. We're about to push hard with UB, and I think getting into universities is going to be a really cool next step for us. Oh, Lindsay, thank you. Yeah, thanks, guys. Well, fingers crossed. I don't want to jinx it too hard, but it would be pretty cool. They seem really excited and really enjoy our stuff, though. GCSRs are generalized condition social reinforcement. I can't tell you what school yet. We need to seal this deal first. All right. Copying text. Our ABCs are going to be our antecedent is a written stimulus. The behavior is a copy of that written stimulus, and then our consequence once again is our GCSR. So pretty straightforward. We've got written stimulus. We're copying that. We're duplicating our antecedent, and then that match between the two creates that generalized condition social reinforcement. Looks cool. Looks cool. All right. Now we're going to look at our two codec responses. Instead for codec, we can think about it as like we're decoding our antecedent. So we're not duplicating it, we're decoding it. Again, this has point-to-point correspondence, but does not have formal similarity. Let's go through our textual first. Let's get our ABCs down. What do we got for textual behavior? You can kind of think about this as like reading, if that helps you get your ABCs down. So let's see those answers in chat. What you guys got? Thanks, Alberto. Love your enthusiasm. Natalie, thanks so much too. I really appreciate that. I know Cooper book is so dry. Learning's got to be fun. I think I say that at least like a dozen times in the Beastslayer course. So like learning has to be fun, guys. Not just for our learners, but for people studying too, because there's so many people that just teach behavior analysis in such dry ways, but like it's like the most exciting topic in the world. So like let's have fun with it, and you're gonna learn it better. Yeah, Maddie, absolutely killing that. Ooh, Lex is careful with that antecedent. Yeah, Morgan looks good. Nicole looks good. Love that, Jameson. Hell yeah. Nicole's asking, do I preach reading the Cooper book in order to pass the exam? I'm going to tell you a secret. I didn't read the Cooper book at all, and I passed the exam on the first try. With, like, barely studying. I'm the worst. I'm like, I didn't need test prep. I just, like, barely studied for it. I think I had one, like, 90-minute study session. And that was my whole exam prep. Because I'm just like if you obsess about the material, like I obsess about all behavior analysis. You know, Papa Color. I know, not to brag or anything, but I honestly, like I'm spoiled, and like it's not because I'm super smart. It's because I went to an amazing program, and also my undergraduate is in behavior analysis. Like it's behavioral science undergraduate. So like I've been learning about this stuff since I was 19 years old. So it's not you. It's not me. It's like my environment that shaped me for sure. Yeah, there's 3 different schools that offer a behavioral science undergraduate. And I was lucky to go to a school that offered one of them. So I went to Western Michigan University. The other two schools that offer an undergrad in behavior analysis are UNT, so North Texas, and then KU, Kansas University. Yeah. All right, let's go through textual behavior. Our antecedent is going to be a written antecedent, and then our behavior is reading the text. This can also be like we could have covert textual, so we can be covertly reading the text. And then our consequence is our GCSR. Looking good, looking good. All right, let's look at our last one, transcription. What are our ABCs of transcription? Yeah, I had an amazing education through WMU. They're hardcore there. And it has its pros and cons. Like, I don't think it made me the best clinician, but it did make me a really good instructor of behavior analysis, and that's what I'm more passionate about anyway. So that's what we're doing. All right, transcription. Let's see those ABCs. Again, be careful with your verbal and vocal here. Allie's example. A, listen to Nick preach. B, write Nick's preaching. C, Nick praising. Great example. Killing it. I know I do. I do kind of feel like a preacher of behavior analysis sometimes. It's just like spreading the good word of science and looking at behavior objectively. Here we go. That's so funny. All right, yeah. Again, we're about half and half with verbal and vocal for our antecedent here. Which way is it? Yeah, Crystal, we discussed that. All right, looking good here. Looking good. So transcription is going to be vocal stimulus as our antecedent. So not necessarily verbal. This one needs to be vocal. For our behavior, we're writing down the words that we hear, and then our consequence is going to be our GCSR. Awesome. Well, I feel like we've had a lot of cool side conversations tonight, but we did actually just meet our like counter for our first giveaway. So let's go ahead and have some fun, and we're going to give away that Beastslayer course right now. So let's go ahead and do it. Who's excited? Who wants to win it? Who's going to win it? We'll see. All right, looks cool. Yeah, if you already have the Beastslayer course, please do not participate. We want to make this an exciting win for whoever's here and doesn't have it yet. Keep hitting that like button. If we get if we meet our next milestone, we might even do a second giveaway tonight. So keep hitting that like button. We'll switch it up a little bit. Let's do our range between 1 and 150. So everybody gets to guess one number. Whoever is closest will win the Beastslayer course. You can start putting those numbers in now. We give you guys about a minute to do so. One guess per person. If you already have the Beastslayer course, please refrain from participating. Good. Yeah, good luck, everybody. We've got a $250 item on the line here. That's about to go up to $325 in just a few days. Our signature masterclass in behavior analysis. Become a Beastslayer today. I've been like so focused on creating the content. I'm so excited to like make the ads for this. They're gonna get so silly. I gotta find my buddy who has all the chainmail and armor again. We gotta film some stuff. I'm like not that big of a nerd. I don't own my own chainmail. Yeah, if you purchase in April, if you purchase before the end of this weekend, you get 8 months access. So pretty much access until the end of the year. Which is pretty cool, pretty cool. All right, last call for numbers. All right, looks like we slowed down. We're gonna make Daniela our last guess here. Let's see it. We've got 266. All right, help me out in chat here. What do we got? 266. We've got, Maria, 248. Okay, what else we got? Oh, we've got Shinobu 252. I think that's like 14 away. That's pretty close. Help me out in chat here. Who's our winner? 266. 266. It looks like Shinobu might be our winner, is what I'm seeing. Help me out here, chat. She had 252. That's 14 away. Oh, Amy, wait. Oh, we had a couple closer? Wait. Nick, you aren't even looking at I am looking at the chat. Wait, who? Okay, wait. Amy had 267. Where's that? Where was Amy? 267? Where was that? Oh, we had 256. That one's closer. I heard there's a 267 somewhere. Wait, where is that? Help me out here, Crow. I'm not seeing the 267. Wait, okay, a couple people say 267. Oh, wait, Amy. There it is. Yeah, we said Daniela's the last person. Amy too is only one off there. That's amazing. Oh, we had so many close. Yes, all right. Well, Amy SR, congratulations. I know you're a frequent flyer at these study halls, so love to give it to a frequent flyer here. Send me an email at understandingbehaviorofficial@gmail.com, and we will give you your Beastslayer course. Yay, congratulations. Yes. All right, sorry, Shinobu. I know you were so close. We had another one that was really close too. All right. Well, this is actually our last Beastslayer giveaway for at least for like the weekly ones. We're probably gonna move down to a monthly Beastslayer giveaway now. We'll see. I always like say I'm gonna give away less, and I'm like, no, I want to give away more, but we'll see. Yeah, but congratulations, Amy. Love to see a frequent flyer here win that. That's amazing. Congratulations. Woo, 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 woo. All right, Jameson, you got a Honey Bunches of Death shirt? Hell yeah. I'll send that out to you soon. Love it. All right. Well, yeah, keep hitting that like button, and we'll probably do another giveaway. Like, we've got a great crowd here tonight, so we'll probably do another giveaway tonight. But hitting that like button is definitely going to make that occur faster. All right, we're going to continue through our presentation. Next up, we're talking about listener responding. This is another verbal operant, so we're responding to the verbal communication of another individual in a specific way. Here's our ABCs for listener responding. We have a verbal instruction as our antecedent. So this could be any response form. It could be vocal, it could be written, it could be a sign. Behavior is following that instruction, and then the consequences are GCSR. So like listener responding here is like the antecedent is touch ball. They engage in the response touching the ball, and then there's generalized conditioned social reinforcement from there. If you're giving like a hand signal to a dog, so if you go like this and they sit, then that would also be listener responding for them, following that instruction, and then they get praise and some kind of approval reinforcement for that. Love it, love it, love it. Let's go through real quick how the BCBA exam is going to try to trick you on the verbal operant questions, and then I'm going to try to trick you on some verbal operant questions. So pay attention to these. Okay, so first of all, many of the scenarios are going to have multiple verbal responses or speakers in the questions. So you really want to focus on which verbal operant that the question is asking about. Focusing on that last sentence of what they're asking about is absolutely crucial. So yeah, stay oriented to what they're asking about. For the consequences, you need to look at the past history of the consequences and not always what's happening in the current moment. So we talked about this earlier with the mand, where it's like if the behavior has a history of receiving the consequence, then it's still a mand even if they're not receiving that consequence in that specific moment. You might also have some weird antecedents. So for example, you might see like motor communication within an intraverbal frame. Or you might look at like tacting abstract traits or feelings. So it's like, ooh, I like feel something, like something seems fishy right now. So that would be like a weird antecedent. Then we can also have disguised operants. Here would be an example of that. So like something that looks like a tact but is actually a mand. So like my favorite example would be like if I said something like, hey, that pizza smells really good. And then they say like, hey, do you want a slice? I'm like, hell yeah, I do. That actually has like a mand and a tact there. So we would call it a concealed mand, especially if like an EO is our triggering antecedent, where it's like that desire for the pizza is the main antecedent for that behavior. Yeah, Danielle wants an example of like that motor intraverbal. So if let's say like somebody points like over there, they point like here. I'm like, no, it's not over there, is like my response. So that would like the antecedent is like a motor communication, but my response is like, no, it's not over there. So that would still be an intraverbal even though it has a motor antecedent. If I wave to somebody and they wave back, is that an intraverbal? No, that would be a mimetic. We don't go over autoclitics in this one. Has anybody gotten an autoclitic question on the exam recently? I mean, like, I'm sometimes wrong about these things. I don't think you're very likely to get an autoclitic question on the exam, so we don't really talk about them. No, okay, cool. Let's go through our questions. Let's see what you guys got. Rationales are encouraged on these. First one up, we've got June grabs her dog's attention and says, "Come here." Then June's dog comes. What verbal operant did the dog display? All right, Cab and Justin are saying, or Justice are saying that they did have an autoclitic question on their exam. That's crazy. An autoclitic essentially is a verbal operant that kind of like emphasizes or strengthens another verbal operant. Or it can even weaken like another. It alters the value of another verbal operant essentially. So like let's look at like the two different statements, like the sky is blue versus like I think the sky is blue. The I think in there would be an autoclitic that modifies how strong the tact is of like the sky is blue. So that's an autoclitic. Real basic covering there. Tact extensions, I know you're not going to see on the exam. I refuse to teach those. Cool, I love the answers here. Love the rationales from Aaron, Samantha, Morgan, Shinobu. Good. Yeah, N. Hairston looks great. Amanda, Alberto, Daniela, killing it. Yeah, I like that, Aaron. Autoclicks just add seasoning to the conversation. I like that. Crystal, you had tact extensions or autoclinics on your 5th edition? We're not counting 5th edition. All right, this one is going to be I, listener responding. So in this one, we have an instruction that's presented. The dog is following that instruction. That's the listener responding element. Good. Okay, let's check this next one out. Remy had to run to the bathroom during an important lecture. He asked his neighbor to see their notes real quick to write down. Which verbal operant best describes the writing of the notes? What do you guys think? What verbal operant here? No way, Justice. You had tack extensions on your 6th edition? What? Oh my gosh. I can't believe it. We might have to make another section in Beastslayer that's just like focus on these things last. We'll put like CMOs, tact extensions, autoclinics in there. Because I really don't think they're the most important topics, but we'll give you the info. Yeah, like the just in case series. Yeah, we'll have to add that section into Beastslayer, I think. All the weird shit. I'm actually shocked that you had tact extensions on your exam. That is shocking to me. All right, I'm liking the answers here. Really looking really great, everyone. Let's check it out. This one is going to be copying text. So we have written antecedent, written behavior, does have formal similarity, and point-to-point correspondence. Looks good, looks good. How about this next one? Harold asks, want to play after school? Jimmy replies, I'm down, let's do it. What verbal operant best describes Jimmy's behavior? What do you guys think? What if you take a picture of the notes? I don't think that's a verbal behavior. No, it wouldn't be a verbal behavior. Awesome. Thanks, Crystal, for helping people out with autoclinics in chat. Love to see that. Yeah, autoclinics most of the time are like adjectives or adverbs. So something that like strengthens or weakens another verbal operant. Okay, yeah, this is looking great, everyone. Yeah, Lexus, I love your rationale. Morgan, Natty, Aaron, looks great. Cab, killing it. We're just a few likes away from giveaway 2. Don't slow down. All right, this one is going to be an intraverbal. So our antecedent was want to play after school. This is our verbal antecedent. We have a verbal response that's related to it, and that's what we were asking about was Jimmy's behavior, which is the intraverbal. Harold's behavior would be a man. He's asking for information. So he had an EO. He wants to know if Jimmy wants to play after school, and then he receives that information if he does play or not. All right, let's check this next one. While stuck in Sandy's dome, SpongeBob croaks out, "Sandy, I need water." And Sandy replies, "A wallet, a watch," and does not provide him water. Which verbal operant best describes SpongeBob's behavior? What do we got here, crew? Crystal's a huge help. Thank you so much. Yeah, these are looking good here, crew. Nice. Not fooling y'all. Looking great, everyone. Hell yeah. Yeah, love the rationales coming through. Nice job, Amanda, Alberto. Yeah, Samantha, great. And Hairston. Good. Yeah, Alyssa M. Love it, love it, love it. This one is going to be A. This is a man. So we still had an EO that evoked this behavior. This behavior still has a history of receiving this consequence, even though it's not currently receiving that consequence in the moment. Awesome job here, crew. We've got a few more of these. Gary is texting while driving when another driver honks at him and flips him off. Gary puts his phone down and flips him off back. Which verbal operant best describes Gary flipping the driver off? What do we got? Yeah, Danielle's asking, is Sandy's response an interverbal? Yes, that would be an interverbal. Looking good here, crew. Awesome. Yeah, great answers and rationales coming through. Yeah, there you go, Jameson. There you go, Aaron. Yeah, nice, Morgan. Yeah, nice, Marv. Samantha looks great. Shinobu killing it. Groovy, groovy. This one is going to be E, emimetic. So we have a motor verbal antecedent. We've got a copy of that motor verbal antecedent as the behavior, which makes this E, emimetic. Really nice job here, crew. Awesome, awesome. Few more. We've got a behavior nerd. Here's an epic Skinner quote at the UB study hall. "And what a strange discovery for a would-be tyrant that the only effective technique of control is unselfish." And then they write it down for later. Which verbal operant best describes writing down the quote? What do we got here? God, Skinner just has so many bangers. So many banger quotes. Yeah, Skinner is a G for sure, Alexa. Was a G for sure. He still is a G. He's a G for life. Daddy Skinner. He's our rat daddy. What about Chomsky? Chomsky's not a G. All right, loving the answers going through here. Nice job, Lisa. Good job, Shantae. I know, we totally did the Rat Daddy shirts. I'm gonna get my artist or one of my artists on it soon. We really do need the Rat Daddy shirts. We'll make it happen soon. I keep saying that, but we really actually do need to make it happen. Alrighty. This one is H, a transcription. So, transcription, and we had a vocal antecedent. We had a written response that had point-to-point correspondence. No formal similarity since it was written versus vocal, but it does have point-to-point correspondence because it does have an exact match. So, transcription is our best answer. All right, this is our last question here. We just need one more like for this giveaway. We'll do at the end of this question. We'll see if we get it. While riding a roller coaster, Carla says, "I don't feel so good," and then vomits on her friend sitting next to her. Getting off the ride, her friend says to Carla, "You need to figure this out, bitch." Carla finds them a shower and clean clothes. Then they continue riding more coasters. Which verbal operant best describes Carla's response on the roller coaster? What do we got? What do we got? Who's your rat daddy? Oh, hell yeah, Jameson. I was so glad you asked for that. Let me see if I can still find it. I don't know where I put it. Oh, yeah, here it is. We've got our Chat GPT rat daddy. I'm gonna get an actual artist to do it because I feel bad using Chat GPT work. If you want that, I can send it to you. Send me an email or an Instagram message or something. Well, I'll get an actual artist to do a cool rat daddy rendition. We'll make some shirts soon. Or replace the chain with the UB logo. That would be sick, for sure. Would that be offensive to Skinner? No, we're not going to send out this PowerPoint, but you can rewatch the video whenever you want, Jacoby. There's also a better version in the Beastslayer course where we don't have as many side conversations. I hope Skinner would be proud of me. That'd be cool. If I could know that for sure, like, that'd be really cool. All right, answers looking really great here, crew. And we did meet our giveaway counter. We actually crushed it. We were looking for 80. We're at 83. So thanks for everybody liking the video. We'll do another giveaway for a mock exam and once we finish this question. Cool. Okay, this one is going to be a tact. She wasn't feeling so good, and then we were looking at Carla's response, "I don't feel so good." So she was labeling how she's feeling. Yeah, just to clear some confusion, the tact, the antecedent is a non-verbal stimulus, so it can be something abstract, like a feeling as well. So she's just not feeling so good. She labeled that, and we had some GCSR where it's like, okay, yeah, you threw up, definitely not feeling so good. So it definitely fits our tact framework. Nice job here, Crow. we're gonna skip RFT today, but that is in our Beastslayer course, and we talk about it way more extensively. So definitely check that out if you want to get some cool stuff on RFT. Let's go ahead and do our giveaway to wrap up the evening. Thanks for all of your amazing participation tonight. For this giveaway, we'll give away you can win any of these 4 products. So either Beat the Beast 1, Beat the Beast 2, our mini mocks, or the fluency questions. So if you win, you get to choose which one that you would like. If you have all 4, unless you want a second attempt at one of these, please don't participate. But otherwise, feel free to go for it. We'll do 1 to 550 again. So let's see some numbers, and then we'll wrap up for the evening. Thanks so much for coming tonight, everyone. If you're leaving now, thanks for coming, and I hope to see you next week. What we got? What we got? Who's gonna win? What are they gonna win? Let's see. Cassie's asking a good question. Can you have formal similarity and not point-to-point correspondence? That's actually impossible. If you have formal similarity, you also have point-to-point correspondence. So yeah, good question. Awesome. Yeah, congrats, Amy. Let us know how you like the Beastslayer. And once again, Beastslayer, our early access offers expire for real this time, this weekend. Yeah, interesting logic. You should definitely check out the Beastslayer course. It's by far our best product. You know, there's so much info you can learn from it. And again, our early access offers are going to expire Sunday evening. No fake out this time. They're for real expiring Sunday evening. So if you're interested in checking out Beastslayer, now's the time. You get a free mock or fluency package with it. $75 off, and you also get 8 months access. So you get access till 2026. Crazy. All right, let's go ahead and pick our number. We're gonna make Nicole Davoli our last person. Here's what we got. 548, right at the top of the range. All right, who gets those high numbers? Oh, Jacoby, 545. Woo, that's gonna be hard to beat. Oh, man, right at the top of our range, though. That's crazy. I think Jacoby's got it tonight. 545. We had 548. I don't think we're going to have any bigger than that. I'm just going to scan one more time. And congrats to Jacoby. Awesome. Amazing. I'm so glad you got it. Shoot me an email at understandingbehaviorofficial@gmail.com. Let me know which of the 4 products that you want, and we will hook you up, Matt. All right. Yeah, congratulations to our 2 winners tonight. If you're thinking about Beastslayer, it is the best time. This is your last opportunity to get the best possible pricing on it and best offers. So definitely go check it out. And next week we'll be back. I forget what we're covering, but we're covering something cool, so you should be there. Yeah, thanks for all of your amazing participation tonight. I loved all of the questions and deep thoughts that were coming out. And yeah, you guys helped make this fun for me and keep me going. So I appreciate all of you, and I hope to see you next week. Have a great one, everyone. Take care and keep crushing and go slay this beast. Peace.